Okay, so another point that we forgot, very important. Who's throwing it? All right, so find someone who is their own person. You don't want a person that's constantly moved by the opinions of others, their friends. They need the opinion of everyone. Now, don't get us wrong. We're not saying don't get advice, things like that. But there's certain people who the family is in control of the relationship. The friends are in control of the relationship, and I feel that that's fairly problematic because there's so much external interference. So I think that's something very important that we wanted to mention. What was the second one again?
Calling.
Yeah, calling. Yeah. Who's gonna dive that one? What is your calling?
So you need to identify what God has put you on this earth for.
Yeah.
Right? Your identity and your ministries in serving God. Not all callings are actually aligned. So I think it's very important that when you come together, your marriage is a ministry, right? It's not about just couple goals posting each other, my bae, and then what? True. That gets boring. It has no value. But at the end of the day, when you are both stuck on that calling and you are serving God, because really your greatest joy is in serving God and in glorifying God. And if the relationship, remember, a relationship is a triangle. You have God, you have the man, and you have the woman. And the closer you guys grow to the closer you grow to God, right, the closer you grow together. So if God is not the center of that relationship, there can never be true happiness. And remember, it's not even just about happiness. Marriage is about holiness. The only person who can sharpen the two of you is God. You can't leave him out of the equation.
You mentioned something so important. I'm going to use this example, not related to anyone, but it's just something that came. If God has called you to be a pastor, find yourself a shepherdess.
Yes.
Do you understand?
It's
not
everyone's
to be a
ministry.
shepherdess, like you feel that God has called you to lead, find yourself a shepherd. It's very important. So we're not saying people must, do you understand what I'm saying? But we need to be able to support each other. If that man is a preacher, I need to be willing to support him in his ministry in some kind of way. You don't want a situation where God has called you to travel all of this country, for example, and he's called me to stay in, and we just need to find a way to be together, I guess.
I like this point that you've raised. I had a discussion with somebody this week just on this. So what if God calls me to be a pastor? I'm a man, the male side. In the marriage. And I've married somebody who didn't necessarily sign up for this. Or the person changes in marriage, which is not what I signed up for before. So what happens there?
Chai.
Sure.
Can ask Amushelolo's wife.
Sure. Allows you to be an activist. You're an entrepreneur. That's a very good question, and I think that's a very important part of. I think that really comes with the selflessness, and sort of what the team, the adaptability, and just the honoring of the vows for every season, I guess. Because those are certain things that you can't see. But I feel with calling, these are things this is why we need to ask God for it now, before we get into that, so that we avoid those types of situations. But when it's there, it also depends on who is being called. Because, Nyana, the man is the head. Okay, I don't want to say a lot of controversial things, but, if he's been called, and, me as he leads. And
Abraham
I follow.
was called. Follow.
Yeah.
Come out.
No, since my dear, we just go. There was no, Mrs. Abraham wasn't shy. We're going shine. Like, okay, fine, we're going. Let's go. And I think that's another thing as women. Am I willing to follow this man in his calling, to be led in his calling? If God tells him, leave that nice job, go in the field and live off the field, am I willing to follow that man? And that's why find that man that you'd follow to the palace and to the desert.
Amen.
Ideally that starts with respect, because if you've been carrying that, it shouldn't be a problem later on. It will be a challenge, but not as drastic.
That's so true. So find someone you can respect whatever decision he makes, even though you might not necessarily resonate. You know that because you've seen his thought process. You know that whatever it is, I might not understand it, but I know that God is leading this man, and I can trust him even when it doesn't make that much sense at the moment.
Isn't it also interesting that Ellen White says that who you marry at the time is a reflection of your spiritual standing?
Really, just touched
So before you think about dating and getting married, guys, how are you standing with the Lord spiritually?
It's true.
Because again, she says we shouldn't be the ones choosing for ourselves. We should allow God to choose for us. But how will you discern God choosing for you if you are not aligned? You can't hear his voice.
I've always struggled with that thing, the Lord choosing, because that's where our brothers come in with the dreams.
Yeah.
Like, no, sis, Flora, I saw you in a dream. No,
but how come the Lord didn't show you that?
That's what I mean. That's why we need to be careful. Like, God has given us principles to especially in the spirit of prophecy in the Bible, in the mind to apply ourselves. Of all these trees thou shalt freely.
Yes.
But this is, and I think He's given us a lot of things to avoid.
Yes.
But we do have that, yes, but we should obviously ask for His approval, and that really depends. If you have no relationship with God, you won't know who He's chosen. That's also another thing. Work on your individual relationship with God. It is so profound. I've seen a lot of women who like men based on their spiritual standing, but his spiritual standing is not yours.
Yeah.
Yes, he will lead, but who are you without that man? Do you have that hold on him? If he loses way, are you losing way as well? So be so rooted in yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what we talked about earlier. Like, what do I bring to the table? Not what are you going to give me?
Yeah.
Because if I'm not spiritual and he's spiritual, I'm going to pull him down. It can only go that way. We're both supposed to, being unequally yoked again. So,
and dating is not marriage, right? Yes, Ellen White says that you need to assess the development of character. And if you get to a point where you realize this person is not walking in the Lord and there's so many red flags, you are not married, get out of it. Even if you're at the altar, get out of it. But the problem is we're treating relationships like they're marriage and so much pressure from third parties.
It's true.
You break up with somebody, it's like you've divorced.
That's so true.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
a lot of couples towards the end actually get to a point where you start to see this thing might not work out. But we've already spoken to the parents. Yes, the ring is there. We posted a lot of pictures. A lot of people know, and that shame. Some of that shame has led a lot of people into marriages they could have, a lot of hurt that they could have avoided.
Yeah.
And we as a community do that. Someone's in courtship. Hey, where's your husband? What did he?
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? We should stop that.
Yeah,
And we also do it to ourselves. We're posting my wife, my forever. I mean, you've involved us in the relationship.
Yes.
We just see
Yes.
it's not even involved.
Tell us that you're over also.
over.
It's it. It's it.
No, but it's very important.
true.
Like, there's so much. The courtships resemble marriages, and that's so deadly.
Yeah.
Because already, if you look like you're married and you feel like you're married, you start to behave
Like
you are married.
Yes.
And that makes it very dangerous. Yeah. So I think it's important to put those boundaries in place. Yeah. And I think another thing we need to talk about, guys, is these female-male friendships.
Yeah.
Yeah.